Hi, this is Carrie Brownstein.
This is DJ Premier.
This is Darren Aronofsky.
You got the RZA right here.
Rose McGowan.
Radiohead.
Aisha Tyler.
Tribe Called Quest.
Fred Armisen.
Fritz Paul.
Javier Munoz. Seth Meyers.
Frankie Cosmos.
Flying Lotus.
Hi, we're Chaim, and you're listening to the Talkhouse Podcast. Ow!
Hello and welcome to the Talkhouse Podcast. I'm Josh Modell. On this week's episode, we've got a pair of songwriting visionaries who came to prominence in the 1990s with well-respected indie bands and who both have vital new music out now. Jason Lytle and Gruff Rhys. Now, Lytle started making music under the name Grandaddy back in 1992. He was a pro skateboarder who found a second passion in home recording, and as you'll hear in this chat, kind of stumbled upon some guys who helped him flesh out the sound into something both humble and grand. The first run of Grandaddy albums, including Under the Western Freeway and 2000's classic The Software Slump, felt a bit like quieter, more heartfelt cousins to the music the Flaming Lips were making at the time. After that initial run, the band eventually split up, only to reform sporadically over the years. Lytle also recorded some really fascinating solo records, while also taking time, as you'll hear, to try and leave the music world behind a little bit. But he's been called back to the Grandaddy world with a brand new album called Blue Wave, and it's everything you'd expect from his brain. A mixture of sweet sadness with fuzzy guitars and synths from another age. Check out a little bit of Cabin in My Mind from Blue Wave right here.
Beyond the curve where you once were, and built upon the purest earth, going to the cabin.
The other half of today's conversation is Gruff Rhys, who just released his 25th album overall in a career that has spanned 35 years and taken some fascinating turns. He's still probably best known as the frontman of the colorful, psych-leaning Welsh pop band Super Furry Animals, which was signed to the venerated Creation Records label back in the 1990s, and whose records and visuals always zigged when you thought they might zag. That's a compliment. For his solo work, Rhys has been genre-expansive, to say the least, but his brand new record, Sadness Sets Me Free, is refreshingly straightforward. As you'll hear in this chat, it was recorded pretty quickly without a lot of fuss. It doesn't sound miles away from the new Grandaddy album, really. Check out a little bit of the song Bad Friend right here.
Though I can't promise you every hour of every day, I need to feed the kids and take them to the park to play. They say it's impossible to be everything for everyone. All I can say is that...
As it turns out, these two toured together a million years ago, and each has fond memories of that time, a soccer match, a special parting gift, and more. They also chat about Lytle's preference to stay away from the madness of the big city, even as he lives perilously close to it once again, as well as their tendency to make up words in their songs when the ones that exist just won't do. Enjoy.
I've had some pretty ridiculous setups. Like one of the Grandaddy houses was, we used to record. That was our big thing, was just like take over the whole house, and we even had A, B, and C studios and different bedrooms. But then the whole living room was like this massive console, with tape machines and, the band setup and stuff. My current setup actually exists in the bedroom, like literally in the bedroom, just because before it was in the garage, and it gets really, really hot here in the summertime. So the only way I could finish the record was to move everything indoors, because I was tired of having flies and bugs, and there's only 3 hours of the day where you can record because it gets so sweltering hot out there during the daytime.
Yeah, it's so strange. We have the opposite in the sense of we have to deal with cold.
I think no matter what, I've kind of found that the universe is doing everything it can to keep me not working on stuff. As if it wasn't a challenge enough.
I feel like you managed to kind of retain the atmosphere from where you are in your recordings. I'm sure I've heard crickets on your record and the kind of insects, and you bring your environment onto some of those records.
Yeah, I love to. All that really is just an extension of albums being your own document of your own life. It seems natural to me that you would include all the stuff that was happening around you. I read a little bit about the process of your making this record. You guys had been playing a lot, right?
I wanted to play with people in a room, I suppose, after being locked up for the pandemic.
Yeah.
And we were on tour, so we rehearsed all of the songs. So we went to a studio for 3 days and played everything live. But it was a nice place. And we mic'd up the outdoors. We recorded the bird song, and I walked around the block. It was on the outskirts of Paris. So it was like recording mopeds whizzing by on my phone. And,
Yeah.
so I capture the moment. But it's quite an acoustic record, you know. It's and it's unusually simple in a sense. It's double bass, drums, piano, string quartets, just very acoustic and live.
He did all that in 3 days, by the way.
I had to, you know, within reason.
Yeah.
I could afford the fancy studio for 3 days, and then I can overdub all of the bad lyrics. I mean, some of the lyrics, I sat on the recordings for about 6 months and then like listened to it again and was like, you know, I need to change those words. Some things, it's good to leave things sometimes and come back to them. I mean, I added some synths as well, all those sounds you find and textures, and you know, that set your records apart.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that stuff. I've listened to the record a number of times at this point, and I actually made some notes, and I was going to put you on the spot with some questions, but I can get around to that.
Yeah. We work in extremely different climates. Well, we have a historical connection because we've toured together a lot. But I think we have, you know, some musical connections, I feel, through bands like ELO, for example, that maybe we've both had some kind of informative experiences with.
I go really, really deep with the ELO thing. It's to the point where it's hard to talk about sometimes because it's so enmeshed in my DNA. We may have talked about it in the past, but do you have some first memories? I would imagine just because of our age, it's something you discovered when you were at this kind of a crucial developmental part of your life or your upbringing, you know, where things have a more of a profound impact on you, the young listening mind.
I can't remember when Mr. Blue Sky came out, but I remember I was, you know, under 10, and it was maybe the mid to late 70s. And it was like, I remember clearly hearing it on TV because it was introduced on TV as a kind of novelty because it featured an electronically created voice. I think they were using some kind of recorder to say Mr. Blue Sky. It was on some kind of miming program called Top the Pops or some kind of program like that. And they made a big deal of the use of the electronic vocal. I remember it clearly. So that, you know, that was a huge song. And then when I was in my sort of late teens, early 20s, I would buy a lot of second-hand LPs from sort of thrift shops, you know, so I could pick up yellow albums for 10 pence, you know, like 20 cents or something. Just so I'd be listening to, I'd be picking up, you know, songs like The Whale, and I'd be zoning out to The Whale.
That was not often cited. So thank you.
My first language is the Welsh language. And when I was about 25, I decided to try singing in English. I had no idea how my English accent should sound.
Yeah.
But all I knew that I liked the way bands from Birmingham sounded, Birmingham, England. So I think I was trying to mimic, you know, Jeff Lynne and maybe Black Sabbath, and I don't know, in my accent.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard for Americans to make the distinction between different sections of the UK and the inflections and the. It's tough for us to do that, but every now and then I'll hear other bands that are from Birmingham, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I start to hear the commonality of the sounds. The only one that I can really pick out is like Manchester. I listened to something recently, and the guy kept. It's like I went to the pub. There was some blood. There's some blood in the pub, and I got clubbed. I got clubbed in the pub, and now there's blood. And I was like, this guy has to be from Manchester, just because it's like that pub, love, pub, club, and yeah, sure enough, he was from Manchester. So I was pretty proud of myself for picking that out, because it's tough for us to do that. But I guess does Jeff Lynne have does he have a Birmingham accent? If he does, that means I love Birmingham accents because I feel like it's very neutral. There's something kind of neutral and common man about it. Or maybe that's just his lyrics. I don't know. But I've never thought of it as being a distinct Birmingham accent. But then that's just my own sheltered American ear. But there was a couple of lyrical things I was curious about after having listened to your record a bunch of times. Did you make up the word outricated?
Oh yes, yeah. I think, yeah.
I thought I wasn't hearing it right, and I was like, please let that be what I thought he just said. And then I looked it up, and I was like, fuck yeah. I love that. I love making up words, and they make perfect sense, but they don't exist.
Yeah, I think pop is a great place, pop music or whatever you call it, because, I feel free from the literary world.
Yeah.
And, you can spell things differently and it's more relaxed.
You don't have the schoolmaster behind you, just like looking over your shoulder. It's just about to whack you with the ruler on the back of the hand.
Yeah, I think it's only maybe the second word they've made up. I used the word called squirrelized.
What's the word?
Squirrelized.
Squirrelized?
Yeah, like
to get squirrely.
Yeah,
like a squirrel. Squirrel like an animal.
Yeah, like I'm gonna squirrelize you. I guess turn you into a squirrel or something like that.
Okay. I got to make one up. It was an older Grandaddy song. It's like if you're saying, I'm sorry, I'm dumb. It's the word for that, which is I'm dumbivity. So I made up I'm dumbivity for that song Summer Here Kids. It's like do as I didn't do because I'm a picture of I'm dumbivity. So I was pretty proud of that.
Wow.
Making up words is great.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody made them up at some point anyways, right?
Exactly. Ever changing.
All we're doing is we're just using all these words that somebody else got to have fun making up. So why not carry on the tradition?
Yeah. Wow.
Didn't a gal from the Cocteau Twins, didn't she have her own language that she made up?
Yeah. And it's what Sigur Rós claim that as well, do they? They claim they sing in Atlantic. I don't know if it's something they just make up for the press.
I have to mention another lyric that you wrote that I like. On Celestial Candy Floss, you make the chasing, the park ranger chasing line, but then you mix it up on the last bit by saying legging it like a park ranger. We don't even use that line over here, legging it, like legging it. And that's just like hauling ass, right?
Yeah. And, you go into the wilderness and that's a big part of who you are from what I can see, what I've always seen of you, really.
Yeah, that's a huge part of who I am and what I do and sort of where I'm from and how I keep my sanity and just how I kind of keep an overall balance in my life, It's becoming even more and more prominent. Sometimes it becomes a problem because the more I sort of stay in that world, the less tolerant I become of, dealing with the hustle and the bustle and staring at screens and all that shit. So for me, it's definitely a challenge to maintain this sort of balance of transitioning from that world to this world to that world to this world.
And do you live close to nature now?
Yes. It's a little deceptive to say that I live in Los Angeles because right outside of Los Angeles is pretty amazing. I mean, the diversity of what I have access to here is pretty incredible. But I live about 10 to 15 miles out from this, the shit. So I'm kind of at the base of the mountains here. Like even if you're in downtown LA and you look north, you would see this pretty amazing mountain range. And I'm right at the base of that. So I have access to, the everything that exists in the shit. That was kind of the plan moving here, was having access to that. But it's kind of amazing how little I utilize it. I've seen some benefits, like my record label is here. So even, I had a lot of instances where I was working on artwork. So the art person would come over to my house and we could sit there together, and do things, work on things quickly. And like the studio that I went and tracked all the drums in is like, 10 minutes from my house. So part of me would love to live in a very remote, leave me the fuck alone kind of area. But I'm still confident that there's a way to pull off both and not have either side be too compromised, you know?
Yeah, did you try moving to Montana?
Yeah, I was there for almost 8 years.
Yeah, wow.
That was great.
I didn't remember it was that long. And was the wilderness close to where you grew up?
It was like fields and orchards. I lived more out in the country. You know, times were different back then too. I mean, we had no neighbors, so I was able to wander a lot and just sort of, we had dogs. So my upbringing was pretty much an equal balance between I would draw and I would listen to music and then I would just wander outside. And that was, obviously I went to school and stuff. And I would say those were my richest formative years. So it had a lasting impact. My first encounter with mountains was just from coffee table books, you'd open the book and there'd just be like, some picture of the Eiger or the Matterhorn or something. And I'd be like, oh my God, what is that? It's so scary. But it's so, and then they'd probably show, pictures of, mountain climbers and just people leading like these adventurous existences. And, that kind of led to my fascination with just wanting to spend a lot of time in mountains. Now, I remember us touring together and you telling me that you grew up and your dad used to take you into the mountains and take you on hikes and you'd go camping as well, you said?
Yeah, I had a similar upbringing in that, I was listening to music and drawing and I could wander around somewhat. And my dad was a mountaineer who's kind of obsessed with mountains.
Oh, nice. Did you guys live nearby, like where it was convenient to kind of get up in them, or would it be more taking dedicated trips?
Yeah, you could walk, leave the town and the village and walk straight up to the mountains.
Oh, nice.
Like some of my first memories is I'd be put in a backpack, and I'd like poke my head out now and again and then close the lid, because there's fog or something.
Sure.
Weirdly, when you live close to the mountains, you don't notice them until you leave. But I definitely feel more at home in kind of hilly areas than flat areas. Freak me out a bit. But I remember last time I saw you was you played one of your piano shows in Cardiff.
Cardiff, yeah.
And I think that morning you climbed Rwyddfa or Snowdon in English.
I guess I got a rare sunny day for whatever time of the season it was. And I had a great day. It was a long day. And I'm sure I was yawning when I was sitting at the piano stool, but it was worth it.
Yeah. No, it was, so I grew up close to where you were.
Oh, okay.
Where you were climbing around there.
Nice.
So it's like a 4-hour drive to Cardiff or something.
Yeah.
But I suppose 4 hours is an acceptable short drive in North America. But it seems like a long drive in Wales.
Definitely used to them. And now, with podcasts, and earbuds and, having a endless list of albums that I would like to get around to listening to, anything in the 4 to 8 hour range of driving is effortless.
Yeah. We played a show together, Subferemals and Grandaddy, in an industrial town in Wales, Port Talbot, in a venue called the Afan Lido, which isn't there anymore. It was one of my favourite shows ever.
Was that the one with the water slides?
Yeah, I just remember going to an after-show party in a bar upstairs. It was like a big leisure centre with a venue, but there was a huge swimming pool. But I think it was the last show of the tour. We toured Ireland and everywhere. And I remember, as a parting gift, you pulled a plastic leaf from a plastic plant. Yeah. Because it looked like an extremely 1980s mall-style interior. And you pulled the plastic leaf and you wrote in pen on the leaf, this leaf is rock and roll. I know you know what a real leaf looks like. And I took the leaf and I thought it was really profound. And I put it in my wallet. Well, nice. It was profound. I put it in my wallet and put it in my coat. And I was in transition between homes. I didn't have... in any case, someone stole my coat.
Oh, no.
And, I thought it was all gone. And then someone knocked on my door about a week later and they had the coats. And
okay, good.
it was,
That was almost a rotten
I've still got the leaf.
Really?
But I'm not sure where it is at the moment. It's
safely
kept. It's in like a box, isn't it?
That's incredible. Love it. No, that tour for us was a lot of fun. It's funny, over the years of Grandaddy, somehow it almost turned into this long running joke where like the management company that we were working for, like, I don't know if it was them or the label, but everyone seemed to be scrambling to kind of link us up with the right people. And we'd end up on these support tours, supporting these bands that were just like, oh, we're going to open you up to a broader audience. We're going to turn you on to, like, somebody other than your whatever your fan base is. And it just always, oftentimes, more often than not, it ended up being a weird match. And so it's left to you to sort of apologize to the fans who are like, oh, we had to pay this crazy amount of money to come see you guys open up for this band that we don't really like, which I don't feel like I'm being very nice, or I don't feel comfortable saying that. But a lot of times it was actually not that great of a matchup. Like the tour we did with you guys was like easily one of the most enjoyable and funnest, and like the commonality and the friendship and the lasting friendship, I should say, which is always a good indication that it was a good decision made back then. Remember the football game? Remember on the ferry? Remember when we played? I think the buses were parked, and everyone woke up at waiting for the ferry to arrive, and everyone woke up at like some really obscene hour in the morning, or maybe some people were still up. Who knows? And we had a big game, and I don't think anybody pulled any muscles, but some muscles probably should have been pulled, because I know I was in no shape to be running like that at that time, but we got really into it. It was pretty heated. Yeah,
it was in Dunleary in Ireland.
Oh, okay.
And and we were deluded, that, well, we're from Europe, and they were to play us in soccer, we thought, wow, we're gonna hammer them, and but we forgot the distinction that we just watch soccer on TV, whereas in America people actually play the sport. So I think you completely thrashed us.
I remember doing better than I thought we were going to do, but we also had a primarily British and UK crew as well.
Oh yeah. I remember you had some kind of bunk in your bus for your skate spots. You all had your own skate spot. It was you were more like a skate spot. You were like a skate spot gang. We'd see you riding around whatever town.
Yeah, that was the very beginnings of the band. Was Aaron used to work at a skate shop that I used to go to on a regular basis, and I didn't even know that he played the drums. He was just like some guy that I had befriended who worked at the shop, and at the time he was playing in some pretty bad like local reggae cover band, and I may have overheard him talking about playing the drums or something, and I was entertaining the idea of actually playing music live, because at that point I'd been recording music just on my own, just home recording, solo guy, learning how to write songs and all that, and but the idea of playing in front of people was almost this perverse curiosity that I had. But I realized in order to do that, I needed some other musicians. But I also wasn't going to be one of those guys who was going to the music store and, putting up flyers with, looking for this and that and blah, blah, blah. I knew that the only way it was going to be tolerable for me was to surround myself with people that I like to be around. So, and that was my first time kind of really playing with anybody, was playing with Aaron, who I had met at the skate shop. And then of course I inherited Kevin along with Aaron. So it was easy. I'll mention one more thing about the skateboarding thing was, I have a long history. Like I grew up, I used to do it competitively, and I was sponsored and used to travel around and blah, blah, blah. It was a huge, huge part of my life, and it still actually is. But it was such a sacred thing to me that I never wanted to, I think the more that I saw all these other like rich kid punk rock bands that were using skateboarding as a marketing tool, like the more I wanted to kind of keep it under wraps, or the more it became even more sacred to me. I was just like, I'm not going to use this as a marketing tactic. And as you could probably imagine, the labels were always just kind of, hey, we should like la la la. I mean, the most we ever did was we made Grandaddy skateboards. You just put graphics on the Grandaddy graphics on a skateboard, which is cool. Nothing wrong with that. But like a perfect example, that In Excess album where the person is standing on a skateboard. For real skateboarders, it's a nightmare looking at that picture because the feet are all wrong, like it's just like whoever did the photo shoot for that, like did it's painful to look at because it's so like not legitimate.
Yeah.
Couple of things I appreciate that I picked up on your album, if you don't mind. First off, I wanted to say thank you for on Sadness Sets Me Free, how you mentioned the kestrel, and I realized that a kestrel just sounds too damn close to orchestral or orchestral. Yeah, so I'm stealing that. Thank you, and I'm stealing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm trying to overcompensate now to say a kestrel, because it sounds so like orchestral.
I love it.
And it's fun to sing. It's from a song called Sadness Sets Me Free.
Yeah.
And maybe joy and hope and things are becoming.
Well, I had a strange feeling when I was listening to it on a really long bike ride. And I've listened to it a number of times now, but it kind of hit me in a different way one day. I mean, I was like, this is like, it's kind of like a hymn. There's something about almost like being, washed in the waters, purified in the waters. There was that feeling that I was getting from it, which was weird because I wasn't getting that. Like when I was just listening to maybe individual elements or just like maybe focusing on specific words and stuff. But at some point I was just like, it reminded me of like not the sound of a gospel hymn maybe, but just like the idea that is behind a lot of, why those hymns or like those kind of religious songs of redemption and purity. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's strange. I'm not religious, but I did have to go to chapel when I was a kid. And I went to Sunday school till I was about 15 because probably my parents wanted me out the house. And there was a good crew of friends in the chapel. It was like a non-conformist Welsh language chapel, so it wasn't evangelical, and we were taught not to take the Bible literally, for example. Yeah. But there was a big hymn singing tradition. I was at a funeral this morning, when we were singing hymns. And so they're around as popular song, I suppose, you feel like it or not. I know those tunes. But, my songs, I mean, to be self-critical, I find my songs sometimes over-repetitive. I'll repeat a chorus to death. And, 2 years later, I'm like, wow, why did I, this is so repetitive.
There can be power in repetition, though.
I'm totally into, if like Steve Reich or something, or, mantras or dance music.
Sure.
But when a song can be 4 minutes, why make it 5? But then Osian Gwynedd, who plays piano on this record, he was like a child prodigy pianist, and he had to stand in for the chapel organist from the age of 10. So he'd have to go to the chapel and play to the masses as a child.
No stage fright there.
So he was saying he had to keep everyone in time as well as play the tunes. So he's like a combined drummer and keyboardist somehow.
Wow. Merle Haggard has an album, and it's all religious songs and hymns. And I don't know what the name of the album is, but I became really fond of it. I was listening to it for a long time, and I could take or leave religious music. I don't care. I like how profound but simple and sweet and easy for my dumb brain to digest. But then like the lullaby sort of nursery rhyme element of it, the melodies are usually very memorable and very simple. But I became really fond of this album. I found out later that the only reason this album exists is because he got into some trouble. He got arrested for something, so he decided to do it as like a community service. It was part of his jail time, or in order to cut down on his jail time, I suppose. He elected to make this album. So I was like, oh my God, that's so great. Adds a little tinge of evil to it. And one other thing I got to sneak in here was the line of Australia is wider than the moon.
Yeah.
At first I thought you were actually saying whiter, like it's like the color white or the non-color white, I should say.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, and then I started laughing to myself that maybe I was so clever that I switched it to wider, like as in width.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe Australia is wider than the moon. I need to Google that.
I don't know if you find that the best ideas for lyrics and things come from conversation often. But yeah, my friend Neil was talking about enthusiastically that with this fact that Australia is wider than the moon. And wow, that's incredible. But I haven't verified it, but I did put it into song.
You can bet I'm going to look it up.
Yeah.
I'm kind of fascinated with Australia. Just even like the color of it, everything is so blown out and just like bright. And anytime there's a sort of vastness in terrain and it's like takes wide open to like the next level. But then there's these beautiful beaches, and getting from one end of it to the other is like, it seems like there's an emphasis on endurance. They have really, really good slang, and I could just sit and listen to Australian people talk and like a wide-eyed little kid just listening to the slang that they sort of effortlessly pepper into all their conversations.
I've been noticing you've been getting into like twangy guitars. Like I can imagine you like sticking your amplifier in a grain silo.
I listen to more country music than I do any other type of music. So it's
is it all coming out?
Yeah, mine's coming out in, what's today? 11 days. 11 days mine comes out. Yeah.
Amazing.
Also, I one of my conditions with making this one was whatever label was interested, I was letting them know I have zero intention of any touring at all. And I could still change my mind, but I was curious to see if they would go for that. So that helped make the decision of putting pen to paper was if they would be up for that.
Yeah.
So, but it might, I might still throw something kind of scrappy together.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah.
Amazing.
Unlike you said, it sounds like you got a lot of stuff planned. Pretty extensive tour.
Well, a couple of months coming to the West Coast, and I'll be bothering you again there. I think maybe last time I saw you on the West Coast, we tried to meet up at like 8 a.m. or something to watch Wales and Bosnia play.
That's right.
Soccer.
Didn't you end up at some Bosnian bar?
Yeah, and I watched it in Spanish in a Bosnian bar.
Oh, of course you did.
But it was the only place I could find it. But, and I think you turned up right at the end, I think.
Yeah.
But that's a while back. That's like a decade, isn't it?
I think I lived there from like 2014 to 2017 was when I lived there.
Wow. It feels so recent, but it's a decade.
It's pretty crazy. But yeah, I would love to swing around when you make it this way. The 3 times that I venture out of my neighborhood a year, it sounds like a pretty justifiable excuse for that.
Yeah. No, when you do decide to play live, I'm looking forward to it. I was mind blown by your piano set in Cardiff. I had no idea, because I'd only seen you play like all the Yamaha synths and ultra melodic kind of keyboard lines on kind of 1980s keyboards and things. And to hear those songs played on the piano, it was incredible.
Oh, cool. That place has a really nice piano, by the way.
Yeah, that was, Noel Chapel or something.
Yeah. Really cool layout.
And it had the big TV as well.
Yeah, that's become like an essential thing for me, is to have visuals playing. The idea of standing up on a stage and just being the primary focus is a nightmare to me. So you gotta have all kinds of nice distractions to look at.
I like that about your records. I don't know that, your production style has a video quality somehow. I don't know how to explain it, because it's hard to explain sound.
Yeah.
But it's the imagery used to project with Grandaddy as well had a kind of VCR quality that went with I suppose the era of the keyboards you were using, but it's something your music still retains.
Well, at some point, I felt like, especially some of those earlier shows for us, it was just like, you look at our setup on stage, it just looked like a big junk store. We were like 5 employees at a big shitty thrift store.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
But I don't know. And it was just a crapshoot every night too, that everything would work. That part was a little stressful.
I guess high risk, when you take old gear on the road and flimsy gear, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
But the lyrical line goes through, from the software slump to the water cooler. It's always relatable, super relatable lyrics and cosmic at the same time. I don't know. It's hard. It's something that's really hard to do, and even harder to explain.
I think it should be hard to explain. I was just thinking about this the other day, about how I've gotten to the point where I'm a little suspicious of certain songwriters who have gotten so good at explaining everything that they do. I would rather have somebody who can't quite put their finger on it. It's almost flipped to a point now where it's like you get these very mediocre, and I know that's a subjective word to use, but you get these sort of like, so-so songwriters. I sound like a dick right now. You get these so-so songwriters who are so good at explaining their music. They're almost like politicians, they're just like, or lawyers or something. And it's like, I don't want to hear that. Like, I would rather hear somebody that does something kind of mysterious and can't fucking put their finger on it without being coy, or without being sort of, like elusive in a manufactured kind of way. Like, if you don't know, that's okay not knowing. You don't have to take a course at getting better at explaining this mysterious thing you do. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I suppose we were lucky in that, there's a lot of kind of paid music writers around that were, people were paid to write about music, and I suppose that's getting more rare, and some musicians have to talk about themselves.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And like we're left alone now. Like, in the past there would have been
I feel like we had a good chat.
Yeah, it's lovely to talk to you, even on a little phone screen.
Yeah.
And hope I can see you soon. And
yeah, I'll look at your tour dates, and I'll make it a point of coming out and saying hey. Hopefully you have a day off too. Maybe take you on a hike or something.
Thanks for listening to the Talkhouse Podcast, and thanks to Gruff Rhys and Jason Little for chatting. If you liked what you heard, please follow Talkhouse on your favorite podcasting platform and check out all the great stuff at talkhouse.com. This episode was produced by Myron Kaplan. The Talkhouse theme was composed and performed by The Range, and we offer special thanks this week to Keenan Kush. See you next time.